from the causes of an ongoing destructive process to its impact on the environment. Here are 8 dangers of deforestation. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe to They Will Kill You. Hit the like button and request any topics you'd like to learn about in the comments section below. Number 8. Ongoing destruction. Deforestation, in basic terms, is the permanent removal of forests from a land so that it becomes available for other uses. The trees are turned into fuel or raw materials for construction and industrial processes. The cleared land is used for plantation as pasture for livestock, or it's converted to ranches, farms and urban areas. Approximately 31% of our planet's land surface is covered by forests, and they've become increasingly more vulnerable to human activity. The large-scale clearing of trees has resulted in the loss of fauna and flora species, as well as habitat damage, soil erosion, and the disruption of water cycles. It has affected the lifestyles of indigenous human populations, and it's also a contributing factor to climate change. Tropical rainforests, which are home to over half the planet's plant and animal species, are the areas most affected by deforestation. They once covered 14% of the planet's land surface, but now they cover less than half of that. According to National Geographic, if current trends continue, the rainforests may completely disappear in less than a century. Number 7. Soil erosion. A common perception regarding soil tends to be imagining something compact and unmoving, but that's not always the case. Soil's susceptible to being washed away by running water or blown away by strong winds. Tree roots anchor the soil as they bind into the bedrock. Their removal causes soil erosion and makes an area, particularly on slopes, more susceptible to landslides. As large amounts of soil end up in local rivers and streams, they can block waterways and cause damage to irrigation and hydroelectric structures. One notable example is the deforestation that has occurred in China's lowest plateau, which, combined with weather factors, led to soil erosion and valleys opening up. Before we move on, it's time for our quiz question. Which of these countries broke the record for the most trees planted within 12 hours? Is it A. Russia, B. Sweden, C. Brazil, D. India? Let us know what you think in the comments section below, and stay tuned to find out the right answer. Number 6. Deforestation Timeline. Even though it has peaked in the modern era, deforestation has been occurring since prehistory, probably as early as the Mesolithic. At the time, it was most likely done in an effort to control game animals targeted by hunter-gatherer groups. The emergence of agriculture accelerated the destruction of forests as more land was needed for farming. During medieval times, significant deforestation occurred in Western Europe as a result of the expanding human population. A period of colonialism and exploration soon followed, so lots of wood was used for shipbuilding. Then, charcoal was used on an industrial scale, which meant that the world's forests were once again under threat. On a global level, deforestation sharply accelerated during the Industrial Revolution. Between 2000 and 2012, nearly 900,000 square miles of forests around the world was destroyed. By some estimates, rainforests equivalent to the size of a football field are still being cleared every minute in the Amazon. It's a worrying trend that's set to continue in the following years with potentially devastating consequences. Before we move on, official They Will Kill You merchandise is now available at theywillkillyou.com. It's out of this world. Number 5. Deforestation methods. The most common and controversial deforestation methods include clear cutting and tree burning. Clear cutting is when the majority or all the trees in an area are uniformly cut down, and it's one of the most profitable deforestation techniques used by loggers. One forestry expert described clear cutting as an ecological trauma that has no precedent in nature except for a major volcanic eruption. Tree burning is part of something called slash and burn agriculture. often practiced by root crop farmers in tropical forests and by dry rice or oil palm cultivators. It involves cutting down the trees from an area and then burning them. By doing this, the land is clear of weeds and the ash provides nourishment for the commercially profitable plants the farmers want to cultivate. After years of use, the soil becomes less fertile and weeds begin to reappear. That's when the farmers move to a different patch of land. In the past, the area that had been slashed and burned was usually allowed to revert to a secondary forest. However, modern methods typically involve keeping an area in a permanent state of deforestation. Number 4. Water cycle disruption. The water cycle refers to the manner in which this invaluable natural resource is distributed on our planet. There's no doubt that trees play a number of important hydrological roles in their environment. Along with other plants, they absorb precipitation and release most of it back into the atmosphere via transpiration. Their leaves control humidity by transpiring the water absorbed by the roots. Their plant litter and organic residue can also increase the soil's ability of storing water and provides it with some of the nutrients necessary for plant growth. The canopies intercept precipitation, which then evaporates back into the atmosphere. According to the National Geographic Society, more than half the water in the Amazonian ecosystem is held within plants. Approximately 30% of the planet's fresh water is produced by tropical rainforests. The removal of forests from an area can have significant consequences. For example, the landscape is no longer as capable of intercepting, retaining, and transpiring precipitation. This means that rainfall is no longer stored as efficiently and is mostly lost as runoff. Without the forest cover, water is quickly transported across the surface, thus resulting in potentially devastating flash floods. It's also a problem for atmospheric moisture in certain regions where the water returns directly to the ocean instead of being recycled in the atmosphere. In the long run, deforestation affects the regular weather patterns and becomes a driving factor behind drought, desertification, crop failures, and the displacement of major vegetation regimes. Number 3. Global issue. As previously mentioned, deforestation has been taking place all over the world for a very long time. According to some estimates, since the 1600s, approximately 90% of the indigenous forest in the continental United States has been cut down. Madagascar has lost 90% of its rainforests in the east. South Asia has lost almost 90% of its rainforest, and so has coastal West Africa. The country most affected by the deforestation process is Indonesia, which has lost 39 million acres of forest land over the course of the past century. The Amazon rainforest includes territories belonging to 9 nations, and it's the largest rainforest in the world. According to both Greenpeace and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, most of the deforested land in the Amazon is used for livestock pasture. The cattle sector, supported by the international leather and beef trade, reportedly holds a great deal of that responsibility. Other reasons for deforestation in the Amazon have included clearing land for small-scale subsistence agriculture and the cultivation of soy, mainly for export. Number 2. Loss of biodiversity. Deforestation is often cited as one of the factors behind the ongoing Holocene extinction event. Life on Earth has found its way to the planet's harshest habitats, from the Arctic tundra to the Sahara. However, the animals and plants that are found in these environments have had a long time to adapt to them. The same is true for life in forests, where there's a staggering amount of biodiversity. Because deforestation is often so swift and brutal, the species that inhabit forests don't really have time to adapt, which means they become threatened with extinction. It doesn't have to take place on a large scale, since every part of a natural food chain is important. For example, a certain amphibian species may become lost, which, in turn, affects predators that rely on it for survival. If a certain bird species goes extinct, this can threaten plant species which depended on it to spread their seeds. By some estimates, the planet loses about 50,000 animal species every year to the deforestation that occurs in tropical rainforests. Brazil is a country that holds 60% of the Amazon rainforest, and it has declared deforestation a national emergency. A recent study of the Brazilian Amazon revealed that nearly all the predicted extinctions will occur within the next 4 decades. So, which country holds the record for the most trees planted within 12 hours? The right answer is D, India. In July 2017, approximately 1.5 million volunteers from the central state of Madhya Pradesh worked together to plant 66 million saplings. Their combined efforts surpassed the previous record of about 50 million trees, also set in India the year before. Number 1. Greenhouse gas emissions. Deforestation is often described as one of the driving factors behind the enhanced greenhouse effect, and thus as a contributor to global warming. Carbon dioxide is the most prevalent greenhouse gas in the atmosphere, and it creates a layer in it that traps radiation from the sun. Trees and plants act like carbon dioxide filters because they absorb it from the atmosphere during photosynthesis and store it in their tissues. It's one of the reasons why the Amazon rainforest has been described as the Earth's lungs. According to Greenpeace, about 300 billion tons of carbon, which is 40 times greater than the amount produced by fossil fuels, is stored in trees. However, in order to remove carbon from the atmosphere, a forest has to actively grow. In other words, it needs to be alive. Deforestation not only hinders the role that trees play as active carbon filters, but it also releases much of the carbon they've already stored back into the atmosphere. A study has revealed that deforestation is the second largest source of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, next to fossil fuels. Thanks for watching. Have you ever been personally affected by deforestation? If so, how? Let us know in the comments section below.